And greetings, everyone, and welcome to Trenton 365. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. I am super stoked about this because oftentimes I get a chance to spend time with performing artists, whether they're musicians or dancers, etc. But I've got Tim Ho, who's going to be coming on, and some of you folks may know him from the band R.E.A.C.H. But Tim is doing a lot with music, not just for adults, but also for children as well. So we're going to be bringing Tim on, and he'll be talking about his music, and he's got a very specific program for children, and we're going to be talking about that. But we're going to be talking to lots of different things about Tim Ho and about what he's been doing with music, about what's going on, because of COVID, where R.E.A.C.H is, and all these other things. Great background, man. Welcome to Trenton 365, Tim.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm in my kids' room. They're my inspiration for most things, so I figured it was a good spot to do this.
I think that's a perfect way to go into and jump into you as a father, as a husband, and making music and wanting to make sure that your kids enjoy the music and participate as well. So, Tim, let's just start by talking about the local music scene, how you got connected to it, and then how you and I met, and then we'll lead into your music for kids.
Okay. Um, yeah, I've been playing music for more than half of my life at this point. I guess I was about 15 when a friend. Uh, I went to summer camp with a kid that was in town, and we got home, and he's like, "Let's start a band," And I said, "Sure." My dad's got a guitar, and it was a beat up old acoustic guitar. It'd make my fingers bleed. Needed didn't think I didn't know that I needed to put new strings on this thing or any of that stuff. And we just banged on that, banged around for a few years. And I'm self-taught, but you start doing this and working with others, and you figure out a little bit here, a little bit there. And by the time we started Honolulu in 2007 or 2008, I think. Anyways, by then I was, a lot better at what I do. Almost, that's 13 years later.
Uh-huh.
So
And I wanted to touch on two things that you led off with. It was number one, your dad had a guitar, so obviously you were encouraged as a kid. Yo, you want to grab it? Just bang around on it. It's there for you. So you
wait,
had access. You had access as a child, number one, and then number two, you were self-taught. So I know a lot of times, like parents, including myself, the first thing you want to do is, oh, the kid shows some interest. Let me go out and rush and get the best, greatest, newest, baddest thing for them, as opposed to kind of just letting them evolve in it. And I would assume that you being self-taught was almost like an evolution process for you.
yeah. So the guitar just happened. It was a guitar that happened to be in the house. It wasn't anything nice again, but they did start me. I did piano pretty young for a little bit, and then I played violin for a year in third grade, sax for 2 years. I tried to drum for like a month, and nothing stuck. And then the guitar thing. I think the concept of being in a band kind of drove me to. At that time I was 15. I was getting into music, so like it all kind of just rolled into like, all right, the guitar, singing. I always loved singing, and my dad listens to mostly classical music, and like he used to sit and have me pick out the instruments in a song or whatever. And my didn't have a lot of, and my mom listened to whatever was on the radio, so I didn't have a ton of exposure to like the kind of music I do now. So when I was 15, again, I got handed some tapes. This is before YouTube. I got handed some tapes in the lunchroom, and I took out some VHSs from the Hamilton Library with Roy Orbison teaching me my first guitar chords, and it kind of took me a while of just kind of figuring out like two chords, and then just like making up my own chords, and playing around with stuff with two other friends who happened to have a drum set because his brother played drums, and that kind of thing. And it was the first band was definitely something. And then I met at in 1998 at the end of high school, the year I graduated, I met Tony Goggles, and we've been playing since, in several bands together, including Honolulu, which is now 2021. So we've been doing this for almost 15 years.
Mhm.
And
And that's it. And that's fine stuff. And it's always a pleasure to chat with you, and to hear bring up some names and stuff like that from the scene, and just kind of see how the whole Trenton music scene has evolved just through my lifetime. From the '70s up until now. I know that we've got some venues and things that are really supportive of what's happening, which helps to have the scene continue to grow, etc. But with everything that's happening with COVID and with the pandemic, we all know everyone's had to pull back, and I know our performing artists friends, who are used to playing gigs and stuff out like that, they've all had to rethink and retrench what they've been doing, and you've done a fantastic job of that. Just talk about how the pandemic has affected you, the band, you individually as well with playing, and then let's talk about this wonderful thing you got going on with music for kids.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so one other thing that was big on me being part of that scene and meeting so many of those people was the Mill Hill Saloon or the Mill Hill Basement down there. I played my first gig there in 2000, so I've been playing there for 20 years, which is wild to say. and and met so many other musicians and most of the people that I know through the Trenton scene through, basically Art All Night and the Mill Hill.
Hmm.
and um but yeah, so Johnny out from Crypt Keeper and I had started doing the Third Thursday thing there at the beginning of 2000, and we did 2 months, and then everything shut down. And it's going on a year not playing live. It's tough. I've done some of the programs I do are on Zoom, so you can at least see people's reactions. But I do like a Facebook stream, and you're just playing to yourself in the room, and it's weird. A lot of people, it's not for them. I've kind of tried to embrace it all, because yeah, so at the beginning of 2020, I was doing about 5 gigs a week between being, I was doing a once a week at a preschool, everything from that to, playing the Mill Hill later that weekend, so all ages. And I was really getting to the point where I'd say for about 7 years, I've filed my taxes as a musician, like you asked me what I do for a living, I'm a musician or a stay-at-home dad. And uh, so I was really working a lot, and then everything just came to a halt. And so I was like, oh no, what do I do? And the Zoom came along, and I started doing research. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos on how Facebook works. So we started a Facebook group called Best Friends Club, which is basically a live venue substitute. I do that with Jim Graz from Honolulu and my buddy Tommy that runs GTG Records, Tommy Plural from Michigan. And we just actually this year launched our own website so we have a DIY show space. So imagine the Mill Hill Basement just on a screen, and we're doing like one show a month and a couple in the Facebook group. But we got over 2,000 followers in the Facebook group, and we are just streaming the concerts. And we started using StreamYard, so at least us musicians can all be on and talk to each other at the same time. So it's evolving every month what we're doing with the Best Friends Club. And I tried to do some of that with the kids thing, but didn't catch on as much because a lot of my network is adult musicians, and it's really it's something I can see going post pandemic. I've learned how to use Photoshop, how to do some video editing, how to use some of these different programs. I got a whole setup, a rig with the mics and the interface to sound good and look good. I know to put lights up, like if I need them, and I've really spent all the time. So I've probably spent more time on tech than music this year, but I've learned so much and that I can hopefully apply later. And we're hoping that the Best Friends Club is something that parents who can't go out or people who are a lot of people just can't go out certain nights, right? So it's something that on your phone or your TV you can kind of partake in something a little social and catch some live music in a different way. So we're trying to embrace what we have to use right now versus because otherwise I'd just be sitting around moping about not playing. But
Exactly, bro. And I'm glad you said that because that is all part about the DIY scene is, hey, you make lemonade out of lemons. Whatever the situation is, you figure out how to do it, how to do that retrench. And the Best Friends Club, I'm going to make sure that I get myself on that and that we share it through the Trenton 365 networks as well. Because again, it's all about building a better community and making sure that the folks who are doing things like the entertainers, that they still have the access so that, when things do get a little bit better, that they'll have those options to get out and to perform for us as well. You dropped off a couple of names, some of the guys from Honolulu. You didn't mention Dim, but I'm sure that, why don't you run through the whole group of Honolulu and, your different relationships with those cats, because I think it's also important for folks who are tuning in, not only to follow what Tim Ho is doing with the children's music and everything, but you guys got a whole catalog of stuff that you've done as Honolulu. And I know that Honolulu's got plenty of fans all over the place.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't mean to not mention Dim. Sorry, Dim,
Oh
if you're
yeah, I know
watching.
Dim.
Yeah, so Honolulu, we've been kicking for a long time. So one of the toughest parts of this year is not being able to do really anything with Honolulu. So I can stream by myself. The kids' music I do by myself. Honolulu, we did two live streams, one from Exit 7A, Scott's Place, and then one from Jim's house for GTG Fest. And it was great. And we had a third one lined up we were going to do, I think it was Thanksgiving Eve we were going to do. And just the cases were getting high in the area and we decided to back off. That's probably the hardest part, is not seeing those guys. And like it is nice working with Jim on the one thing. And I talk to Tony once in a while, and then Dim, you know, I talk to Jim once a week at least because we're working on Best Friends Club together. So we had talked about trying to record something where we each record our bit, send it, back and forth. But we're also learning a lot of this tech as we go, and just haven't gotten to that. But I'll tell you this: when things do open up, I cannot wait to play a live show with Honolulu and have everybody go nuts.
Well, I can tell you what, bro. I can tell you right now that there's plenty of people around who will be at that show, and I think who are chomping at the bit as well. So I'm looking forward also. So, folks, I'll share links to Honolulu's music as well, but make sure that you check them out as well. Tim, I want you to talk about like the Trenton music scene, right? Because we've been doing different things, lots of different people, lots of different moving parts. But prior to COVID, I mean, we had a few venues that were providing opportunities for a diverse group, like pretty much no genre music, to be able to play, whether it was open up to national touring acts and some international gigs, but also locals being able to perform on a regular basis as well. So can you just touch on the importance of artists having that scene?
Yes. So again, I've been playing the Mill Hill for, there's champs in the Mill Hill are basically the two main spots, and there's been a couple things that have come and gone over that time. But the Mill Hill was our spot. And so touring musicians like 5 nights a week, you never know what you're gonna get when walking. You could see the greatest band you've ever seen from Oklahoma, some random place, let's say, with 5 people in there. You can come in there and see, the local band house pack. You never know what you're going to get, and it was such a variety so for the longest time, it was like, let's just go to the Mill. Something's going to be happening, and we'll maybe meet some new people. And I mean, it went on for a solid 10 years for me, like just before I settled down a little bit, and yeah, it just met so many people. So and then with Honolulu traveling, and we all network back and forth with each other. And but a big part of, let's just some more name dropping. I met Dave Locane from the Mill Hill when I was 16. I started working at ShopRite, and he worked there, and then he started working at the Mill Hill right around when I started playing there, and he was booking like crazy. And so we were there. We were playing there at least once a month with whatever band I was doing at the time. It changed a lot before Honolulu. Yeah. You do what you do until you find something that works, and then you stick with it, right?
Mhm, mhm.
But Dave, people like Dave and Joe Kazemka, and Joe with his big events that he would do, and Dave holding things down at the Mill Hill and R.E.A.H., and people have come and gone over there, but Dave's been a staple the whole time. I know he's he cannot wait for that place to open up, and we miss you, Dave. And but he would just he was one of the people who's responsible for so many of the names that somebody would send him an email. He said, "Sure, Tuesday night, let's go." And we would just show up and meet these people, and we know thousands of people probably all over the country just because of hanging out over there. And then so if Honolulu needs something, we make some phone calls to some people that we met there, and work, bounce off each other.
That's awesome. So I want you to transition out and talk about doing the music for kids. You're a father, you're a husband, you're very active. I've seen you at events that I've been a part of where you've brought your family, you've got your child there as well, trying to interact them into what's going on with the music. Obviously, you're in her room.
Violet and Henry, I got these for Christmas. I got this for Christmas.
Right. So both the kids are getting a shout out. We always love that. Make sure we give the kids their proper placing.
But I'll tell
So
you.
so it would kind of make sense, right? That you're this musician, you're very talented, etc. So yeah, I can imagine you're playing your guitar, your instruments, and you want to encourage your children to have access to it. But talk about how it evolved to you saying, "Hey, there's a business opportunity here for me."
Yeah, it started off with being a musician. I'm the stay-at-home parent, right? So and taking my daughter when she was born to the library a lot, and then it catching on that I was a musician, and so it really actually started with my wife is a first grade teacher, and she started a book series called R.E.A.C.H. And I wrote some music to go along with her books, uh, and so we'd done like two or three book events, and then the library caught on that we had this thing going on, and they had us, and then I led a Halloween parade at the Ewing Library, and then one thing just kind of just fell into place, and with especially with the new schedule I was on with the kids. And that stayed up till 1 o'clock to play with Honolulu at the Mill House, that was not as easy anymore. Um, but it just kind of it just all made sense. It's simple. The audience is so innocent. I'll definitely say playing music for so long you can get a little jaded, and uh, like every song's been written. What do I do now? But these kids, little kids, they never heard anything, so you can play anything, and I keep the high energy style that Honolulu would have. So not like boring nursery rhyme kind of stuff, but I bring like what I've learned from punk rock and apply it to kids music, and mixing in mashup like Bouncing Souls, Here We Go, with the Itsy Bitsy Spider, about positive mental attitude, getting up there, not letting that rain stop you. And it just I kind of all just fell into place, and it made so much sense to not to just run with it. And I'll say in COVID, one of the greatest things with my kids, my daughter, she'll be 5 in April, and she's written some of my two, or at least a line or two. And so the last project I did with my wife was called "Veggies Are a Fruit's Best Friend." She said that at dinner one night, and I wrote a song and recorded it with Jim. And then my wife said, "Oh, I like this song. I want to make a book," and that became her new book. And then we did a virtual book launch in December. And it's all these parts working together. But that was like a family project. She came up with the line. I wrote a song, and that inspired the book that my Jen illustrated and wrote. And it's and the video will be up soon. We put a lot of work in that for like 2 months, and I had to kind of walk away for a little bit after Christmas. And but I keep meaning to get back to finish the music video up, because Jim Graz recorded a really nice track with it's got that awesome bass line, stuff you don't always hear at a kid's song. And so just trying to bring that fun rock and roll element into stuff for the kids and let them get energy out, but also teaching positive mental attitude and some morals, and just good stuff like that.
So, will you promise to come back and talk about any future music? But also, I want to bring Jen on and have her talk about being a elementary school teacher, the connection with you, and also writing the books. Man, I'd love to share what she's doing with her books and with the illustrations and the music that goes along with that through the Library Boxes of Trenton page as well. Could we set that up as well?
Yes, definitely.
All right, cool. I'll make sure I'll follow up with you on that. Now, finishing up, Tim Ho's Music for Kids, some encouraging words to the parents, guardians, grandparents out there who have a young person in their life that maybe seems like they may be interested in music in some capacity. What would you like to tell them?
Uh, be encouraging. Don't be forceful. Like don't um, music from in the womb is good for every kid. As early as you can start to like just listening to music, and encourage them to try different instruments, and have stuff that they can bang on, and like rhythm is great. Um, but don't, like, we bought a ukulele for her, and she's like not that interested, and I'm not going to force it because I don't want to turn her off from music. That's what I was trying to say with that. And but having music in those first couple years, take them, doing any kind of music programs, it really helps with all their development, as far as, and like my son, he's almost 3, and he's got such good rhythm, and I think it's because we just always do music. And my daughter makes up her own songs, and I think it's their imaginations are like, thank God for the imaginations that they've developed in the past. that they've had them the past year, you know, because we don't really go anywhere, you know. We my wife's teaching virtual. We're totally everything we do for work is virtual, and you know, we see their grandparents once in a while, and that's, you know, that's about it.
Mm.
So just the the skills that develop from having music in your life, uh, you can apply to everything, and I think that it's very important.
Mm. Fantastic. Tim Ho, music for kids, as well as a bunch of other stuff. Hana Lee, an advocate for Champs, as well as Mill Hill and the Trenton music scene. Thank you so much for your time, as always, Tim. And I can't wait to see you in person and to hear you perform. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jacque.
You're welcome. Folks, you've been listening and watching the Trenton 365 show. Just an opportunity for you to meet some of the coolest and wonderful human beings that I have access to and I have friendships with. I encourage you to reach out to them. And if you can, please support the efforts that they're taking forth to do, because this is how we build a better community for everyone. We need to support what's happening locally. Jacque Howard here, Trenton 365. Remember, it's always about justice, peace, and humility.